What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my week 2 power rankings. We're finally here. And you can see there at the bottom, I got the Chargers moving up 6 after a huge win against the Chiefs in Brazil. And then the Lions moving down 6 after a very disappointing performance week 1 against the Packers. But before we get into it, we got to talk about all the stories of the week. We got all 16 games here on this list. Cowboys Eagles, Jalen Carter ejected for spitting on Dak, gets fined 57K, and his suspension was sitting out that whole game. The Eagles blank the Cowboys in the second half to get a win. Friday, you got the Chargers stunning the Chiefs in Brazil. Herbert goes crazy, throwing 3 touchdowns, 318 yards in a great game. Then we move to those Sunday games. The Bucks beat the Falcons with a late field goal, and Younghoe Koo misses 2 late, and the Bucks finally get Atlanta in Atlanta. Bengals squeak by the Browns. The Bengals have had struggles their first 2 games of the Joe Burrow era. He is now 2-9 after beating the Browns in weeks 1 and 2. Colts demolished the Dolphins. Not much to say there, except the Dolphins forgot that they were playing week 1 and it wasn't preseason. And Daniel Jones and that offense score on all 7 possessions. Jaguars destroy the Panthers, and it was thanks to a second quarter where they scored 17 points. And they looked good and didn't really do too much offensively to really move the needle, but Liam Cohen gets his debut. Pete Carroll takes the Raiders across the country to Patriots in Foxborough, and Geno lights them up for 362 yards. Had a great day there as the Raiders escape with a victory in Foxborough. Cardinals beat the Saints in New Orleans in Kellen Moore's head coaching debut, and their defense only gave up 3 points in the second half, which is key for those Cardinals to walk away with the victory. Then that Steelers-Jets game was potentially going to be the game of the week until later on. They beat the Jets. Rodgers dueling his old team. Obviously, in the post game, he said, "I don't care who it was, something about the Jets. I'm just glad I beat everybody in that organization." And Rodgers looked very good. He is not washed. Throw those allegations away. 4 touchdowns, almost 250 yards to the air. Justin Fields, 3 combined touchdowns. So I think both these teams are going to be okay moving forward. Commanders, usual suspects show up, dominate, beat the Giants. Debo scores in his debut. And then the story of the week for the Giants is Jackson Dart being unavailable in the post-game interviews. And that means maybe the Giants might be already looking to a quarterback switch for next week. Broncos against the Titans. Broncos struggle by turning it over 4 times, but still found a way to win. Cam Ward looked great, but the offense just didn't help him out at all. Offensive line struggled. I think it was 6 sacks, lots of drop passes, but it was against the best defense last year. So hopefully those Titans can figure it out soon. Niners win late in the late window, beat Seattle with a TD. Christian McCaffrey obviously is back, pretty much team on his back in this one as George Kittle goes down on the IR with a hamstring injury. Rams hold on to the Texans, and they held them to 9 points as well, especially with that high-flying offense. The Rams defensive front did more than enough to beat the Texans, and then Stafford going for over 60,000 career passing yards in that win. Packers dominate the Lions in prime time at 425 from start to finish. Micah Parsons, 29 snaps, and you knew he was out there for all 29 snaps as Jordan Love looked great, throwing the ball wherever he wanted. The Bills, like I said, this is the best game of the week. Come from 15 behind to beat the Ravens in the fourth. Derrick Henry fumbles, shifts all the momentum, and that's pretty much what sealed it there for Buffalo to win on a game-winning kick. And Buffalo, if you any fantasy football guys out there, Josh Allen getting 50 points, 4 total touchdowns, going crazy week 1 against that Ravens defense. And then Monday Night Football, you got the Vikings scoring 21 straight points in the second half to come back and beat the Bears by 3 as they led up a late touchdown that didn't really matter. But J.J. McCarthy, 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, showing that this kid can play in his first career start. Then 32 through 29, you got teams that all lost. Saints, Panthers, Titans, Browns. Move the Browns up because they almost beat the Bengals and move the Panthers down because, well, they didn't really show up in Jacksonville. But it gets worse for all these teams. Cleveland goes to Baltimore. Tennessee has the Rams at home. Carolina goes to Arizona, and then the Saints get the Niners at home. 28 through 25. Uh, Moving the Jets up here too, because, well, they played very good football and probably would have beat 24 teams if they weren't playing the Steelers this week with their performance and how good they played. Unfortunately, that's not how it works here in the NFL. 26, you got the Patriots, 27, the Dolphins, and 28, the Giants. Patriots looked okay, but Drake May just wasn't really too confident in some plays down the stretch. And Gino and Pete Carroll were, and that's the difference there in that game. And the Patriots Dolphins feels like a must win for the Dolphins after them getting blown out to the Colts on the road. They forgot to play any sort of football this week. It was ugly early and late, and then the garbage time touchdown by Achane saves them from getting shut out. But big struggles there in Miami already. Then the Giants at 28. Quarterback change, like I mentioned earlier, is definitely imminent. I don't know when it's going to take place, but you can already tell that Russ looks a little lost out there, and it might be Jackson Dart time here sooner rather than later. 21 through 24, you get some teams with a win here, and that's going to be the Colts and the Raiders at 22 and 23. Colts move up after a dominating performance against the Dolphins. Raiders do enough on the road to escape with a win there. And I think the Raiders could be a team to look out for here. Get the Chargers at home. Obviously, Chargers coming off a big win in Brazil. If the Raiders can win this game, who knows what's going to happen? They definitely might vault at least into my top half of these power rankings next week. Same for the Colts. If they can beat the Broncos, maybe we're going to have to start taking these two teams seriously here if they can get back-to-back wins. Then the Bears drop here 3 spots. I thought they had this game wrapped up heading into the fourth quarter, but yet again, another Bears collapse as they struggle, can't put away the Vikings. Offense does nothing in the fourth, and they go to Detroit this week, and that's a huge game because neither team wants to start out 0-2 there. And then that Falcons game at 24. Like I said earlier, Younghoe Koo struggles late. They had a chance to not tie it twice and to win it technically if you take away that field goal attempt he missed earlier in the game. But the Falcons, I think, are going to be just okay moving forward. But they go to Minnesota, which will be a tough challenge for them. 17 through 20. I got 3 teams that all lose last week, and that's because, unfortunately, it just didn't go their way. And the Cowboys at 19 move up because they had a very good performance against Philly in Philly opening night. I don't think anyone saw that game being a back and forth game in the first half and then forgot nobody wanted to score anymore in the second half. But respect to the Cowboys for showing out as they get the Giants this week. Seahawks at 18, lost to the 49ers in a heartbreaking fashion. They just got out coached in this one, and hopefully they can go into Pittsburgh and play a little better because I know the Seahawks fans are already thinking about Sam Darnold and overpaying him. 17, Texans fall back 4 spots after an ugly offensive showing in Los Angeles against the Rams, and they get the Bucks this week at home, in which you got to show up and score for because that Bucks offense is legit. And then that team at 20 I haven't talked about yet is those Jacksonville Jaguars. Played some good football, enough to get a win, but it was against the Panthers at home. I hope this Jaguars team can figure it out slowly, but Trevor Lawrence and Trevor Etienne, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, there really wasn't much to go around besides Etienne's big runs, but hey, a win is a win as they go to Cincinnati this week. 13 through 16. Then you have 3 teams with a win here. The Rams, Cardinals, Vikings, and then you got the Lions falling from 10 to 16 after their loss to Green Bay. And it was pretty much a 27-6 game throughout the whole game until that garbage time touchdown by Isaac TeSlaa. Probably best catch of the year already, or at least up there, with a great one-handed snag for the touchdown and dragging the feet. But the Lions have the Bears this week. Like I said, it's a huge divisional game as both teams are 0-1. They both want to start the season at least 500. Vikings at 15 move up 2 after their win on the road against the Bears. This team really didn't do much of anything right until that fourth quarter, and both sides of the ball just clicked. Vikings looked unstoppable on offense in the fourth once they started to feed Jay Jettas. I know he only had 4 catches, 44 yards, and a touchdown, but that's all you got to do sometimes to beat your divisional opponents. They get the Falcons this week, which I think will be a very good game. Cardinals at 14 stay put. They beat the Saints on the road. Get the Panthers this week. I expect the Cardinals to go 2-0, beat those Panthers, and who knows, maybe this Cardinals team can get some momentum early, keep it going, and be a surprise team later in the season. Then at 13, I got the Rams. They beat the Texans. Their defensive front shows out. Didn't really let Nick Chubb do anything on the ground. CJ Stroud struggled, and this defense is going to be legit once again. Matthew Stafford and that offense looked decent. Looks like they're still trying to find some chemistry. out wide with the receiving room besides Puka. Devontae did all right, but it wasn't really spectacular as those two look to build some chemistry here heading into the Titans game. Now 12 through 9. Niners move up 4, Broncos move up 1. The Bengals, even after a win, move down 4 spots, and then the Bucks stay put at 9. And the Niners lose Kittle, like I said earlier, but it was a good, hard-fought win in Seattle, and it seems like Niners always beat Seattle. It doesn't matter where this game is played. They just have their number. They get the Saints this week, and without Kittle, it's going to be interesting to see how they game plan because the receiving room is already thin. Now losing Kittle makes it even worse. 11, I got the Denver Broncos and beat the Titans at home. Struggles, but they still find a way to win. Those 4 turnovers, really bad. Hopefully they can clean that up as they go into the game against the Colts, which I think a lot of people are going to look at now because those Colts put up 33 last week on the Dolphins. And if the Broncos defense can show out like this every week, don't be surprised if they're contending for an AFC West title late this year. Bengals beat the Browns by 1 in Cleveland. Win is a win, but it wasn't a pretty one. Jamar and T. Higgins were non-existent in this one. So hopefully those Bengals can clean that up here as they head against the Jaguars. At 9, Tampa escapes with the victory, a late drive by Baker. It seems like it's happening more and more now that Baker's the guy you want late in the fourth to lead you down the field for a touchdown or a field goal. Emeka Egbuka makes his presence known since day one in this game. 2 touchdowns. He was the go-to guy, not Mike Evans in this one. And it really shows that I think when they get Chris Godwin back here, week 5, week 6, this offense is going to be almost impossible to stop unless your secondary is best in the league. 8 through 5, all these teams except the Chiefs find a way to win. Steelers especially finding a way to win against the Jets on the road. Aaron Rodgers still got it. The 3 backs in Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, which I didn't even know he was on the team, it felt like, and Caleb Johnson did absolutely nothing. But they're going to be a 3-headed monster here. I think when they can finally run the ball and not have to rely on Rodgers as much. This Steelers team is going to be very good this year. Let's see if they can have a repeat performance against the Seahawks. Commanders at 7, beat the Giants, do enough. Wasn't too flashy, but a win is a win, and you'll take it in week 1 as they travel to Green Bay Thursday Night Football in one of the better games of the week. Then the Chiefs and the Chargers. Chiefs fall from 3 to 6. Like I said, they lost, so more deserving to the Chargers at 5 because moving up 6 spots, go to Brazil. Technically, a home game for those Chargers, which kind of stinks for them. They beat the Chiefs at least, so they beat them at home, and then they go to Vegas to face the Raiders. And Monday Night Football, that's going to be another good one there if you can stay up and watch it because it does start at 10 o'clock Eastern. Then 4 through 1, I don't think this surprises too many people. Eagles out at the top as they should be. Bills at 2 with a great win there again at home against Baltimore. My Packers move up from 5 to 3 after a dominating win against the Lions. Then the Ravens move from 2 to 4 just because they lost and the Packers dominated so much that we got to put them at 3 instead of 4. But the Eagles in the Saquon show, that's pretty much what it was in week 1. Hurts and Saquon running, that's pretty much all this game was because A.J. Brown did absolutely nothing in this one. And Goddard did all right, just feeding him across the middle. Nothing too pretty about it or flashy, but a win is a win there for the Eagles as they get the Chiefs in Kansas City this week, prime time. Got to tune into that one. Bills, I mean, what a way to start the year in your last season at your stadium at Highmark, winning at home, coming back, kicking a game-winning field goal as time expires. You can't make this stuff up. The Bills look very good and dangerous. If they can do that against the Ravens defense, a lot of those other defenses have to wash out, especially the Jets this week. Packers, like I said, dominated. Let's see if they can keep it rolling. Micah will know a little bit more of the playbook this week, maybe be on the field for 35, 40 snaps this week, as there was only 29 last week, as he's the big story out of there in Green Bay. But don't forget about Jordan Love. He had a pretty good start to the season, completing, I think it was 70% or more of his passes, and really could kind of do whatever he wanted here in this one, throwing the ball as the Lions secondary took a hit with Terry and Arnold going down. And since that moment, that's when Jordan Love kind of took over, converting on key third downs. And then at 4, the Ravens, heartbreak. Not much to say there, except they do one thing wrong and the one missed extra point, and that cost them the game and myself in fantasy losing by point 0.7. So thanks for that, Tyler Loop, but I believe in you from here on out. As the Ravens, I would not be surprised if they put up 40 on this Browns team and just cakewalk them and it's over by half just because I know they're going to be pissed off after losing that game to the Bills. But that's going to be it for my power rankings this week. Check back next week, see where your favorite team ranks. But until then, Bench Buddies are out.